To this evening's event on the League of Women Voters, and I'll be the moderator this evening. Formed in active participation in government, works to the League of Women Voters, the information about issues and the positions candidates take on those including internet, cable, or TV has not been authorized by the League of Women Voters. As a courtesy to the candidates, please turn off all cell phones and other electronic devices now, and please refrain from taking photos or videos during the debate. But since we're being streamed live and all that other business, it's okay. We would like to make you aware that in New Jersey, there will be 2 general constitutional amendment questions on the November 7th general election ballot. As a service to the voting public, the League of Women Voters New Jersey Education Fund has prepared an analysis of each ballot questions with reason to vote either pro or con. They are complex issues. We urge you to take advantage of this resource and to acquire the necessary understanding to cast an informed vote. The prepared summary sheets are available to you at a table near the entrance. You are being moderated and therefore should have no personal interest in the outcome. I am eligible to moderate this forum since I live in Stone Harbor and I vote there. None of the League participants live or vote here in Wildwood Crest. Also, for full disclosure, Joyce Gould is a member of the League of Women Voters of Cape May County. She is not on the board, just a normal everyday member. This evening events will be streamed live at 98.7thecoast.com, and audio will be simulcast on 98.7 FM The Coast. There will be questions asked of 2 groups. We have already divided up the groups. Darlene Devlin, Carl Groon, and Don Cabrera will be Group A. Group B is Joyce Gould, David Thompson, and Robert Bethel. We will ask 1 question of each group. All 3 people in that group will answer that 1 question. Then we will go to the next group. The candidates have drawn their places for their opening statements, which will last for 90 seconds, and we're ready to start now. Carl Groon of Group A has pulled the number 1 spot.
Good evening. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters and Coastal Broadcasting System for putting this forum together tonight. I would especially like to thank the taxpayers and voters in our community for attending tonight and listening at home. For those of you who may not know me, I was born and raised in Wildwood Crest. I played Little League here, attended Philip Baker, played basketball at the Pier, and worked as a paperboy. My wife, Donna, and I raised 3 children and have 7 grandchildren who love to visit. During my lifetime, I have served the community in many ways. I was a member of the school board for 6 years, serving 5 as president. I currently coach boys varsity basketball at the CREST Memorial. I was also a Greater Wildwood Little League board member and thoroughly enjoyed my 8 years as a coach. Some of my other experiences include serving on Guatita, which operates the convention center, and currently serving as a board member of the Cape May County Utilities Authority, which I believe has benefited my community. Finally, my experience owning and operating a successful business for 39 years, as well as my experience as mayor and commissioner, have well prepared me for the ever-changing responsibilities of this position. Thank you.
Darlene Devlin.
Hello, and thank you everyone for coming tonight. Thank you to the League of Women Voters and to the Coast, and to everyone listening at home. My name is Darlene, and I'm running with David Thompson here tonight with me. After college, I worked at Neil's Steak and Oyster House in Wildwood, where I was responsible for the accounts receivable, the accounts payable, reconciling of all the cash receipts, credit cards, and computers. After a year there, the job offer of purchasing agent arose in the borough, and I earned the job. For 27 years, while continuing my education in purchasing, I handled accounts payable with hundreds of vendors, prepared daily deposits, sat on the bid opening committee, worked with state contracts in the bidding process, prepared payroll, included in that would be the pension enrollments, the loans, the retirements, final certifications, and quarterly pension reports. I also coordinated the ambulance transports with the billing company. I worked very closely with my fellow employees, my commissioners, and all the department heads. I retired with an unblemished personnel record, and I look forward to working with Dave as a team with all of you. Thank you.
Mr. Cabrera?
Good evening, WILDWOOD CREST. Wow, it's been 16 years since we last had a candidates night. My name is Don Cabrera, and I'm the Commissioner of Public Works, Recreation, and Tourism. How about a round of applause for Coastal Broadcasting and for the Cape May County League of Women Voters for putting this together tonight. Dennis and Mary, thank you for hosting the event. And to the Recreation Department, you did a great job of setting up the venue. You first elected me when I was 35 years old. I stand before you today at 52, and I'm ready to serve you for another term. I appreciate your electing me and allowing me to serve our awesome community. I have the experience, leadership, and vision to move our community forward while maintaining fiscal responsibility and good balance. I like to think I am in my prime, but sometimes I wake up after a workout and it reminds me of my middle age. I bring to the table 16 years of local government experience, a degree in recreation, and I own businesses and a home with my wife Janine in WILDWOOD CREST. Together we raised our son Adam, a graduate of CREST Memorial School and a senior now at Duquesne University. I would like to thank former Mayor John Pantalone and Commissioner Matt Tomlin and current Mayor Carl Gruen and Commissioner Joyce Gould for keeping an open mind to the initiatives and the ideas I proposed over the years. I congratulate candidates Dave Thompson, Darlene Devlin, and Bob Bethel for their courage to put their names in the hat and willingness to serve our community. I wish them and all candidates the best of luck on November the 7th. My hope is to keep the campaign positive and informative, as that is what WILDWOOD CREST deserves. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to Group E now, and Joyce Gould has picked the number 1 spot.
Good evening. I'm Joyce Gould, and I can't believe so many of you are here when it's chicken pot pie night. This is unbelievable. I am not a Wildwoodian by birth. I came from what's called Chicagoland. I went to high school at Oak Park River Forest High School, which doesn't mean anything to any of you, but if you've ever seen any of Frank Lloyd Wright's homes, many of them were built in that suburb of Chicago. I graduated from the University of Miami in 1965 with a Bachelor's of Arts in Communication and a minor in speech, and got an MRS with my husband, Alan. We have been married for 52 years. Our daughter just turned 50, and I have 2 of the most gorgeous grandchildren you've ever seen, 14 and 18 years old. So that makes me the oldest person running for office, and some of you might think too old, but not so. There are more older people than you think running in government, and more women than you think running in government. I have been fortunate to have the opportunity to do many things in my adopted community. But the 3 that stand out the most are the ICE-T grant, which gave you the bike path, would not have happened if it wasn't for Charles Bradley, who was a fireman who owned Bradley's bikes. He came up to me and said, if Middle can have a bike path, so can we. I also started Peer Playmates, where over 200 children this summer participate, where we take them they come here and their parents are working, and it's a great program. Thank you.
Mr. Bethel?
Good evening. I would like to thank Women's League of Voters and 98.7 The Coast for having me here. I come from WILDWOOD CREST. Grew up here my whole life. Went to CREST Memorial School and then to WILDWOOD High School, class of 1992. I did move to Florida for about 5 years. And like they always say, you always come back to your roots, where you grew up in. And I made the best decision coming back to WILDWOOD CREST. Married my wife, Kim. It's been 3 years. We have 3 children. And I got a daughter that's at CREST Memorial in 7th grade now, and I have a son that's at Lower Cape May Regional High School as a sophomore. And I have a son who's at Gwyneth Mercy University who's studying to be a nurse. I was a coach for football, and it was all volunteer for, well, 15 years, if not longer. Also, volunteer firefighter for the past 11 years, where I am now secretary of the department. I also work for the WILDWOOD CREST Public Works Department, in the sanitation department as a truck driver. Thank you.
Mr. Thompson?
Good evening. I would like to thank Bob Massio of the Coast Radio and the Cape May County League of Women's Voters for putting together tonight's Candidates Night. I would like to start by telling you I love this town. I've been involved in giving back since 1989 with my first 8 years involved in Little League. I first moved to Wildwood Crest in 1975 upon graduating from Wildwood High School. I've been married to Wildwood Crest native Kathy Stocker and have raised 3 children, Carrie, Katie, and Stephen, as most of you know. I was on the original committee to get convention hall legislation passed locally. I've been in the fire company for 32 years, 22 as an officer, stepping down as chief 3 years ago, remaining an active firefighter. For the last 24 years, I have been president of the 5 Mile Beach Volunteer Firemen's Association Convention Committee. I recently spearheaded renovation of Maxwell Field press box, raising $8,000 for repairs and arranging for my contractor buddies to donate their time to help me with the renovations. The current administration has been working on getting Sunset Lake dredged for the last 4 years. Along with my running mate, Darlene Devlin, our plan is to expand on that and have Wildwood, West Wildwood, North Wildwood, and Lower Township join together to press the state for dredging of the intercoastal waterway around the island, including Sunset Lake. We have plans for the old library to become a social center with programs for the community for our seniors. We have plans for an art exhibit from local artists, a program for MAC Performing Arts, among other ideas. Thank you for coming.
All right, we're going to start with question 1. We'll go to Group A, and it just happens that you're going to go in the order in which you pull the initial cards. That won't happen throughout the night. I will switch things up. So question 1 goes to Mr. Gruen.
So that voters get a better idea of the person behind the candidate, who would you say influenced you the most in your life, and in what ways?
My father, there can be no doubt. He was a fisherman in our community, and he led by example, very quiet, and once he made a decision, he stuck to it, and worked very hard, being out on the water for 6 days at a time, doing very difficult work. Not sure I appreciated him as a young child, but I certainly appreciate him now and what he went through to raise his family at that time. So yes, it would be my father.
Ms. Devlin?
I would also have to say my father. From the young age of 5 and 6, he instilled in myself and my siblings honesty, ethical life, hard worker. And I wanted to take after him when I went to college to get into the business field because I was so proud of him and I knew that I could do it. He was a commissioner and I was under his eye for 8 years. And I never met a kinder, gentler man who cared for this community and cared for your tax dollars the way my father did. So I can proudly say that my siblings and myself would have to say our father. Thank you.
Mr. Cabrera?
Sure, that's an easy one. My mom, she's here. She raised me till I got married, right? So I have to say, I'm 52, I'm gonna do the math here, for about 21 years. She taught me the value of working hard. She taught me the value of being a leader. She taught me the value of every woman loves a sharp-dressed man. She said, whenever you go up, you gotta dress to the nines. When I was out of college, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I worked here in the summers for the water parks for the Maury organization. And I wasn't sure what I wanted to do in life, and she said, son, it's time for you to get out of my house. I'm going to take you down to Wildwood where he worked in the summertime. She had $10 in my pocket. She said, go make a name for yourself. That's what I did. Thank you.
All right, question number 2 will go to Group B, and the first person will be Joyce Gould.
Major storms have been more of a concern in recent years with some of the damage and close calls our area has received. What do you think Wildwood Crest can do to keep itself best protected and positioned in the future?
Well, one thing is we're getting a dune from the Army Corps of Engineers probably in 2019. We are fortunate that we have such a large beach. Had we had a smaller beach when Sandy came, and if Sandy would have hit an hour later, we probably would have had quite a bit of devastation, but we were very lucky. So we're looking forward to the dune being made, and we're looking forward to a bike path on the beach. And just for everybody to be alert and to heed when the police call and say it's time to evacuate, go, because human life is much more important than anyone's home or anyone's property.
Mr. Thompson?
Well, it's true we have a big beach, and the dune project is going to help us tremendously. I think our bigger problem is the back bay. We have to solve the back bay flooding. We want to get that dredge back there. If we can dredge that intercoastal waterway, it'll eliminate some of the flooding back there. The majority of our damage comes from the back bay, not the beach. I feel that the beach is well protected from the dune and the size. I really want to push the state to get that dredge back there. We want to continue the bulkhead, the concrete bulkhead the city has already started. They did a very good job with it. It is working. We want to continue that, starting with the Lotus Myrtle Road area, because that's some of the worst flooding right now. And in hopes, if we can get dredge back there and stop the flooding back on Lotus and Myrtle, that it might stop some of the flooding up on Pacific and New Jersey Avenue, because they're also in our crosshairs. We plan on working with the engineers to stop the flooding in the middle of this island. We're at the fire company, and it rains hard. We watch the people go flying through that water, hydroplane, and it's just ridiculous that we can't stop that flooding in the middle of this town. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, before we get to the next question, I'll just, whoops. Bob, sorry. You know, I do this in every debate. I have not missed one, so I apologize.
Well, I think we're very fortunate to live in Wildwood Crest compared to our towns to the north. Wildwood, North Wildwood, West Wildwood get the brunt of the storms. We are very fortunate here in Wildwood Crest. We might have a couple along the bay where the roads flood, but we've been very lucky in Wildwood Crest. The dune project's coming. I'm not a fan of it. I've said I think it's a waste. Our beaches are very long. We've never had the flooding on the ocean side, and I think taking 500 feet of the sand to take North Wildwood is going to be a mistake. And I think another thing we have to work on is evacuations. We need a place for residents to go if there is something coming. That is, to me, going to be the number one thing we have to look out for is the residents, especially the senior citizens of this borough. We've had storms where we've had them in the firehouse for approximately 3-4 days. Prepared somewhat, but that's a long time for people to be at the firehouse for the evacuation and not being prepared like we should be. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 3, we'll start with Mr. Cabrera.
What ways can Wildwood Crest work with governments on the island to improve services and/or reduce costs?
So I'm not sure if everybody's aware, but we already have some of those arrangements in place now. For example, the construction official was shared with North Wildwood. The court clerk is also shared with North Wildwood. We are interlocal services with Lower Township for emergency response service, to which the borough receives money. I think there's other things that we could do with our sister communities. Lower Township, for example, there's a recycling depot Wildwood Crest has. We know that Lower Township residents, Diamond Beach in particular, come and use the recycling center at the Wildwood Crest, so perhaps there's a shared service opportunity there. And in the last couple months, I've been working and talking with Lower Township to also explore the idea of a dog park as well. So there's a lot of opportunity. It just takes open minds to do that, and I would think that some of the other areas that we could think about would be Wildwood Crest owns its own trash and recycling department. Those are some areas that perhaps we could do that in Lower Township as well. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Groom?
My department's been active in trying to work with the other communities on the island. Public safety has worked with the City of North Wildwood, the construction official. I believe there's other opportunities. There's actually a couple we're discussing right now, and because of it involves staffing, it's not something I'm willing to discuss at this point, but we need to work with our neighbors to reduce costs. So yes, we are active, and it's an ongoing process through not only our neighbors to the north, and it's also with the county. They have a dispatch service that is being discussed now, and so every day there's a new opportunity, and we'll just have to visit it and try to provide some savings for our taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Devlin?
I was going to say the same as the construction official and the municipal court clerk. We already share them. I don't know how many more bodies we can share because we start to get into very important areas. The ambulance corps already does cover Wildwood, I believe North Wildwood, if necessary. Our public works men and women, public safety during storms or positive events that are going on in Wildwood or North Wildwood, we can certainly work with them, lend them a truck, lend them a body, lend them people to put out a stage, clean up after a storm, anything like that, we can do that. Our tax assessor, we're unfortunately sharing that person with Bridgeton. And I was not in favor when I saw that happen. I think we have a qualified person or two in this town that we could have gone to. Thank you.
All right. The next question will go to Group B, and we will start with Mr. Bethel.
Drug use, and especially heroin, has impacted many families across Cape May County. What do you think Wildwood Crest government's role should be in trying to deal with this problem here?
I think it's got to start in the family household. I have been affected. I've known friends who have passed away from the epidemic that we have. But we have to teach in high school, or in grade school actually, what the problem is with the epidemic of the drugs. So I think we need to start at the grade school level and then have to move on from there.
All right, Mrs. Gould?
The opioid epidemic starts at home. It starts when your children are little, and it starts with parents who smoke, excuse me, who might have a substance that they smoke after their children go to sleep, or it starts with someone who's not feeling well and needs a pain pill and keeps needing a pain pill and a pain pill and a pain pill. And there has to be somebody in that family who knows that there's something going on with another member of their family and try and get it together, get it held. You can call Wildwood Crest Police Department. I know Mark Tallman has worked a lot with us bringing our opioids that we don't use anymore to be disposed of at Borough Hall. I fortunately am not a part of the opioid epidemic. I used to be a smoker. I stopped a long time ago because I found out I had lung cancer, so I'm a survivor of that. But I really think this belongs in the House, and then it'll move into other facets of the community.
Mr. Thompson?
I believe that it starts in the grade school, and I believe it starts at a very young age. I believe in 1st to 4th grade, we need a comprehensive program teaching the kids the dangers. I believe we should be showing them videos, maybe a little bit of shock video. They are very impressionable. I will tell you what I did with my kids when they were little. We would be driving down the street, and I would see somebody smoking a cigarette. Kids, juveniles, teenagers. And I would say to my kids, wow, doesn't he look cool? Doesn't he look bad? And they're like, what are you talking about? They thought I was an idiot. Yeah, guess what? None of my kids smoked because I told them how stupid he looked. My kids say, no, he doesn't look bad. He doesn't look cool. He just looks like a boy. He looks like a girl. They're very impressionable, and I think you have to hit them very young and show them the damage it does. I believe we need a police officer in the school, a lot more than current. The police officers have to become friends of these kids. They have to know they can turn to them. When my children grew up in school, especially high school, a lot of their friends grew up in our house. And we took them in, they took us in our confidence, and you would not believe the number of kids that come from broken homes and how bad it is sleeping with a knife under their pillow. So the other thing I think is that the neighbors have to pay attention. You have to look and see what's going on in your neighborhood. You have to call the cops when you think there's a suspected drug deal going down in your area. It's our job. You got to watch, but it takes a lot of work.
All right, thank you. Right now, I'm going to make a little statement that the Borough of Wildwood Crest Commissioner Candidate Forum is being streamed live at 987thecoast.com, and the audio is being simulcast on 98.7 FM The Coast. Now we'll go to question 5, and we'll start with Ms. Devlin.
Is there anything that you would like to see done at the county level that could directly or indirectly help the residents of Wildwood Crest, and what would it be?
Going back to the flooding issues that we have, I think we do need to reach out to our freeholders and see if there's anything that we can do for additional funding, anything that they can give us along that line. If they have the wherewithal to give us bodies to do that work, obviously we can't do that ourselves, but that seems to be our biggest issue. As Dave said, the Dune project is not that dangerous right now. It's our backwaters that need our attention. And I think we need to go up just one little step for any kind of financial assistance that we may need, rather than going out to borrow money on our own level.
Thank you. Mr. Cabrera.
First, let me let everyone know, I think the county has been a very good partner with Wildwood Crest over the years. But there's a couple of things that they could do. For example, south of Rambler Road is a county-owned street, and now that north of Rambler has been completed, I think we'd like to see some assistance from the county to come in and repave and restripe all the way down to Jefferson Avenue. Same thing applies for New Jersey Avenue. Both of those areas do have some flood-prone areas, and storm drains need to be replaced. One of the things that I always see, and I'm sure you do too as well, when you go to Cape May, the bridge is in deplorable condition. So, even though it's not directly in Wildwood Crest, I think that that's something that benefits all of us as well. Thank you.
Mr. Groom.
Yes. The county has been a good partner for a lot of things, and they are doing a review that's probably 3 or 4 years out to redo New Jersey Avenue from Rambler through Cressy. They started, the first step was to review the lights, and we're looking forward to coordinate the work that needs to be done north of Rambler to Cressy. It's probably 3 or 4 years out. It's going to take a lot of design, and we'll probably, hopefully, include the business district. Maybe we can do some revitalization at the same time. But there is being work done, the early stages of discussion. The borough is preparing and has already been talking about the financial aspect from both the county and our side. So I think there is good cooperation, and I think in the next 4 or 5 years, you'll see some results.
All right, thank you. The next question will go to Mr. Thompson first.
Wildwood Crest continues to lose year-round population, according to census data, an issue that impacts the county as a whole. What do you believe Wildwood Crest government's role should be in trying to attract new residents?
I believe one of the things we can do is try to slow down the building of all the townhouse and condos, possibly come up with an incentive for single-family homes. Your condos and townhouses are being bought by people from Connecticut, New York, Pennsylvania that are only interested in coming down here for the summer. So it's not helping us at all. The other thing is it's possible with a incentive for single-family homes, maybe we can help some people that can't afford the most expensive condos, maybe buy a house and get in. We should really be publishing and pushing our school a lot better. We have one of the best schools in the state, and that can help bring children in. A lot of people go to where there is a good school district because they want the best for their children. And I think we're lacking in that we don't tell the world, or the state anyway, how good our school is to bring their children here. Thank you.
Mr. Bethel?
I have to agree with Dave about the single-family homes. We just had one torn down on Park Boulevard. I don't know what the answer is to that. Townhouses are going up, condos are going up. That seems to attract the second house buyers. I really couldn't answer that. I mean, I don't know if the taxes are too high for them. I don't think it is. But it's hard to say. I also agree with the school. We do have the best school system around. We have one of the best high schools around in the state. We're losing families in the county. It's not only Wildwood Crest, it's the whole county. So maybe the county has to come together and think of something that we can do to keep year-round residents around. Thank you.
Ms. Gould?
I don't really agree with either one of you on that. We are getting more and more single-family homes built. Where the church, the Methodist Church was, there's 8 new homes going up there. They are at least $1 million. That's ratables for the borough, which makes it very nice. The house on the bay that came down today, that's going up. The planning board, we have been talking about this for the last 3 months. In fact, we have another meeting Wednesday, November 1st at 5 o'clock if you wish to come and put in your 2 cents how you feel about single-family homes going up. And part of the reason we're losing population is because we have no industry here. It's too bad that Cape May County didn't say, okay, let's call Amazon and let's go to the airport and let's build that and let's build houses for all these 50,000 people and let's get jobs. That's what you need in a community. We are a bedroom community of Atlantic County and of Atlantic City. And most of our people are second home owners. We're happy to have them. I'm thrilled to have their taxes. But at the same time, you'd like more people here. You bring your children to CREST Memorial, and then they go to Wildwood High or Wildwood Catholic, and they leave. And you know that happens because most of us have children that have left the area.
Okay, thank you. The next question will go to Carl Gruen.
Taxes are always a #1 issue for residents. What would your tax plan be going forward for Wildwood Crest?
Going forward, there's a few things we can do. Obviously, we've touched on one, and that's shared services to try to keep the cost down. That's something that I'm very active in and have been. When we negotiate our contracts, we have to do a good job. We have to hire good people to negotiate for us and try to keep costs under control. We have to watch the number of staff that we have because that can drive up the budget very, very quickly. But we have a job to do, and that's to protect the people and promote the tourism that's required to make our town run well. So it is a difficult thing to balance, and I think over the last 5 years, the average tax increase has been 1.3 cents, I believe, per year. I think the current administration has done a good job of keeping it tight. And I don't know how else to answer that question. I think we've done a pretty good job. And that's it. Thank you.
Ms. Devlin?
I agree with Carl with the taxes being low. They've done a nice job. We've got to just keep control of our debt. Our debt in 2005 was about $15 million. We're about $32 million now, and it has come down. They've done a nice job of getting rid of that debt. Most of that was the infrastructure, but we have to make sure that we don't unnecessarily spend funds on just anything. We need nothing cosmetic. We need to stay on point. Dave and I will communicate with the other elected commissioner when we get in, and we'll make sure that our spending stays very low. We've got vehicles. We've got a great fleet of vehicles in the borough. Maybe we can start recycling them amongst each other. We don't have to keep buying new all the time and watch them go off to auction for pennies. And the other was, as Carl mentioned, to the shared services. We don't have to share everybody, but we might want to take a look into that a little bit more. Thank you.
Mr. Cabrera? Mr. Cabrera, sorry.
That's all right. So Wildwood Crest is in a very good position financially. And that's one of the biggest things as an elected official you hear is, what can you do about taxes? And taxes, like anything, are bound to go up a little bit. That's the key. You don't want to go here to here. You want to gradually go up. And I think the current administration did a very nice job over the last 4 years in doing that. The debt is primarily for infrastructure. We have to fix the streets. We have to do the bulkheads. We have to do all those things because that's what all of you expect us to do. But we have a prudent plan to pay that back, and that's about a $2.5 million or more payout each year to get the debt down. Wildwood Crest also enjoys a $4.3 million surplus. Not too many communities that have that kind of surplus. So be confident in knowing that Wildwood Crest is a good, stable position, and be confident knowing that as your Commissioner of Public Works, we work hard to keep costs down. For example, since 2009, Wildwood Crest has made cutbacks and saved well over $2 million. And that's thanks to management, Joe Bond and Steve Shear, and the rest of the Public Works managers. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next question, we'll go to Ms. Gould first.
A number of communities have been making recreation improvements. How should Wildwood Crest continue to advance within this area, obviously with the recreation department here?
Well, the Piers is our actual recreation building, but we do have basketball courts, tennis courts, which hopefully I'm thinking that maybe we can turn 2 of those into pickleball courts, which is getting to be a very big new thing that a lot of people are doing in Florida. We have an excellent recreation staff. In the back is Brian Kniff and Frank Bazil, who run this place really quite well with the help of Commissioner Cabrera. And next week we have Trunk or Treat on Monday night, and Tuesday night in the borough is Trick or Treat. And we have our bike path, which is recreation. We have many amenities for children and adults. And if you have any ideas, you should come in and tell us what you would like to see.
Mr. Thompson?
Well, for starters, we have the beach out there that Wildwood does a lot more with their beach than we do. And I certainly feel we could come up with some activities for the beach, for the school kids, for the locals. I think we need to work with the school and get some ideas with there, bring the kids in, have some programs that would give them something to do after school and keep them out of trouble. So I think that's where we really should be working with the school on that, since they have a good handle on the kids and what they need and would like to do. The kids today seem to just stay in their house and play their video games, and it's not very healthy for them. So I believe we could have a few more competitions, be it basketball or soccer or something. We have a field down by the Borough Garage, which we could do a couple tournaments. I think that's really probably the way to go.
Okay. Mr. Bethel?
Recreation is a big thing around here, especially for the kids. We do have to keep them off the streets. Like I said, I coached football for the Wildwood Junior Warriors for numerous years, and we do get a few kids from Wildwood Crest to play football there. I would like to try to get more, really push them down there. Also, Frank and Brian do a wonderful job here when it comes to basketball. Each town runs different age groups for the basketball, so it does really well where every kid is available to play in a league, whether it's North Wildwood or Wildwood Crest. They have a league that they can play in. Also, like to see something more for the seniors. Like to see the old library possibly turn into something where seniors can go there. To, also do some recreation, cards, whatever it may be. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. The next question will go to Mr. Cabrera.
The Wildwood's beaches remain one of the few in the state that don't charge beach fees. Do you believe Wildwood Crest and the rest of the Wildwood should continue to keep access to its beaches free?
Okay, so that question is a very popular one that comes up almost every year. I am not one for making a decision on that until we have more facts, and it comes down to the numbers. You know we have a very large beach. We know we have 42 street ends. We know we're going to have to staff it with someone to, give out the tags, collect the money, but someone's going to have, it's cash control. Now we're going to have managers that are going to have to look at. So we're taking on a large payroll. And just from a pure enforcement aspect, when now we have this new dune to potentially coming, we don't know what that's going to bring. So am I opposed to it? I wouldn't, I'm right now I would say yes, because I don't have that information. But if there's, some study done that we could look at intelligently and say, hey, this makes a lot of sense for Wildwood Crest. But it's not just Wildwood Crest, it's Wildwood and North Wildwood that also, because, we're all one contiguous community. So there's other revenue opportunities that we would lose. For example, I believe the number is a little less than $200,000 a year that the convention center through the state gives back to Wildwood Crest as a collection from the room tax and the TDF. So we would lose that as well. So you're already in the hole roughly $200,000. So thank you.
Okay. Mr. Garoon?
Sorry. Don's correct. We would lose over $200,000 right from the get-go. My feeling is that we have to do a study. It has to be in coordination with the rest of the island, and then it should go to the voters or through a referendum for the voters to decide. I don't think it's something that the commissioners decide. I think it's very critical to this community. It's very critical to the tourism industry, and we certainly need a lot of facts. So I think that would be the process to resolve that issue. So I'm for the study, and I'm for a referendum if so needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Devlin?
Did you two read my card? I again, with them, it needs a lot of time, a lot of talk. We have 45 streets in Wildwood Crest. And if everybody's going to walk down 45 streets, we need a lot of people to check beach tags. In between those 45 streets, we've got condos and townhouses with 1 or 2 private entrances to the beach. Now we've got to police that. If there's an issue on the beach and then somebody doesn't have a tag and they start an argument or an issue, do we go to the lifeguards and take them away from what they're supposed to be doing? Do we call the police and have somebody have to come down to take a body off the beach because they don't have a beach tag? It doesn't make sense, and I don't think it's going to be a moneymaker. We're going to make a lot of money on beach fees. Ocean City does it. Cape May does it. But we're not Ocean City. We're not Cape May. It's going to take a lot of talk and a lot of time to try to make that happen properly. But again, it's going to create an entire new department with personnel and payroll issues. So I think at this time, it's not a good idea.
Okay. Thank you. The next question will go to Mr. Bethel.
during this current administration, Wildwood Crest underwent a rebranding to help with marketing and tourism. How should the commissioners address the marketing and tourism of Wildwood Crest while also working closely with Guatita, who markets the whole island?
I think our marketing does pretty well. As far as the branding, I thought it should have went to the school, let the kids have a say. They could have gave out scholarships. But that's my opinion of what should have happened with the branding. I think the last couple of years we haven't seen many commercials about Wildwood. I think we had to get back into that. 3 years ago, we've seen a lot of it. We're getting a lot more conventions coming in on this island. And that's one thing we got to do. We got to work with the whole island. It's not just Wildwood Crest. You know, Wildwood has something. It's bringing people here to Wildwood Crest also. So we need to really go out, market. Seems like the Canadians, for some reason, hasn't been coming the last few years like they used to. We had to maybe get Canada, get them back here. But I think advertising's big. We need to expand further in that.
All right, thank you. Ms. Gould?
You don't get this for doing nothing. Wildwood Crest, the #1 hotspot for 2017. This is what we got from TripAdvisor. We have our new logo on the top. We don't get a lot from Guatita. Guatita takes a lot, but they don't give us back a lot. Their slogan this year was, be as wild as you want to be. A lot of people found it offensive. A lot of people found it fine. I'm really proud of this, and I hope that next year, in 2018, TripAdvisor makes us, again, the #1 hotspot. Thank you.
Mr. Thompson?
I kind of agree with Bob on a couple issues. For starters, I feel we should first put the branding out to the school, being the grade school and the high school, and see what comes of it. Offer maybe a little incentive as a little, I don't know, money for them for the winter. And if we don't like it, then we can go out and hire a professional. We saw the last one, the first concept was not well received, and we paid a lot of money for it. So we made the change to one that's a little more acceptable. I think we need to reach the business community. You've got a lot of people that live here off the tourism industry, and they should have a hand in this. They should have a say. They run businesses. There's some pretty intelligent people there that could have some input. I think we need to demand more from Guatita. I don't think that they're bringing enough new stuff into this town. A lot of the events have been here for 10 and 15 years, and I feel there's more out there they should be going after, be it the concerts on the beach. Wildwood was supposed to have 7. They had 1, very late, very small. I feel Guatita should be running those concerts. They have more personnel to handle it and the money to reach out and do it. I also believe we should be using our sunset over Sunset Lake. I feel we should be branding ourselves as the world's best sunsets. There are beautiful pictures out there of the sunsets, and I think we're missing the boat in not promoting that and putting some of these pictures all over. Thank you.
All right. This is the Wildwood Crest Commissioner Candidate Forum. It is being streamed live at 987thecoast.com, and the audio is being heard on 98.7 FM The Coast. Now we'll go to another question, and the first one will be for Mr. Gruen.
What is the #1 thing you have learned during this election process, whether it's talking to voters, a meeting you had, and so forth?
That we should have more contact with the voters. There's no question. I've learned a lot by walking the streets, hearing things that I would have never heard unless I walked the streets. I think that's important. And the second thing I believe that the borough should be doing, and we've just started to do it, and that's get more information on the website. We need to get our plans, our thoughts, and make sure that it's there for everyone to see, so they have the opportunity to comment and come in and ask questions. So, to be honest with you, we need to get out in the public more, and two, we need to do a better job of getting information out to the public. Thank you.
Ms. Devlin?
I learned walking the streets with Dave for the last at least 6 weeks. We have some of the most wonderful people in this community. They're kind, they're generous, they want to help. We've had so many people ask, what can we do to help? Can we volunteer? Is there a committee you can put me on? Can I read at the library to children? Can I show my art? Is there anything I can do? What can I do? We need to make sure that they are informed. We have an agenda for all of our meetings. It's to be prepared 3 days prior to the meeting, and I'm sure that is still in effect. We could put that on our website. Let people see what's coming up. Get them to the meetings. Let them feel that they are wanted and needed in this town. And just because they don't vote here, maybe they have a summer house here, they still have a voice. And we've been telling everybody, you have a voice. Come to the meetings. Come just knock on our door. Call us, text us, hit our website. Just come. You're welcome here just like everybody else is. So I've learned that this community has a pretty big heart that we need to work with.
Mr. Cabrera?
So, the most I've learned, well, probably the number one thing is that the community loves their public works department. The sanitation and the recycling crew, the folks that take care of the streets and the landscaping, nothing but positive compliments on the public works department, as well as the recreation departments from the younger families with all the basketball tournaments and so forth. One of the things that that has come up is the flooding issues, which is high on the priority list to address hopefully in 2018, and the side streets. You've seen South Jersey Gas repave the streets, but there's a lot of streets still that have not been touched, and a lot of those same folks have said, hey, when am I going to get my street redone? So those two, and then accessibility to the governing body is another one. Our meetings are Wednesday mornings and also Wednesday afternoons at 5:30. One of the things that they have said is that they like the idea of been hosting Saturday morning meetings in the summertime to be more accessible to residents in case they can't get to the 2 Wednesday meetings as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next question will go to Ms. Gould.
There have been parts of the community who have not been on board with proposed capital projects. That includes the referendum on the proposed medians. How can the next group of commissioners do a better job to involve the public and move projects forward?
Well, you can't tell people how to vote. They have to make their own decision. They have to look at the questions, the problems. I looked at Pacific Avenue, and I felt it was not wide enough to do the medians and the grass work, the flowers. I was afraid it would never work. We talked to the fire department. In my opinion, it didn't work. The public voted, and that's okay. Carl and Don voted for it. I voted against it, but the public came up with their answer, and that's what you want. When it's something that's as controversial as that is, you have to do a referendum. You don't want to do it all the time because it costs money. And that's why we no longer have elections in May, because it was costing us an extra $17,000 to do a nonpartisan election in May. So this is a nonpartisan election in November for free, because you're already making a ballot, because you have a governor's race, in case you don't know. New Jersey and Virginia are the only 2 states that have a governor's race on November the 7th. Commissioners can only do their best, give their suggestions, and you go to the public. Come to our meetings. You have a calendar. It tells you the days we're having meetings. Come, let your voice be heard. We want your suggestions.
Okay, Mr. Thompson?
I believe the answer to that question is just communication. We need better communication out to the public, and we have to take the steps to make that happen. Like Darlene said, one of the things is the website. We need to get that agenda on the website in advance. However, we also have to, in the event of major infrastructure repairs, take a better step to make sure the public's aware of it, even if that means putting a notice in the newspaper. New Jersey Avenue at Sunset Lake, Pacific Avenue, were not well received by the residents. I will say that most of the people that I talked to that voted against Pacific Avenue told me they voted against it because they did not feel they were informed in time. It was last minute. They felt it was being shoved down their throat. I myself, I'm not sure that was necessarily the case because people don't go to the meetings. You've got to come out and come to the meetings. I've gone to meetings off and on for the last 25 years, especially when there's an issue. I'm fine with you coming to the meetings when there's an issue to voice your opinion. I think you need to come to the meetings in a respectful way and talk to commissioners up there respectfully, because I've seen where it wasn't quite so nice. They're doing the job, the best they can and what they feel is for the best interest of the people. However, you've got to come to the meetings, but we have to do a much better job of informing the public when there's a major issue.
All right, thank you. Mr. Bethel?
I think listening is the most important. We need to listen to the residents. Pacific Avenue, I don't think the administration was listening. I forget how many petitions, signatures were signed, but I know I was one of them, and there was probably over 300, I believe, of who signed the petition. And when you get 300 signed the petition to not do it, I think that would tell you that we should have never have come to the referendum as it did, as a special vote. So that's what I would say, that the administration would have to listen better to the residents of Wildwood Crest.
Thank you. The next question goes to Mr. Cabrera.
If you could make one request of state lawmakers to help out municipalities like Wildwood Crest, what would it be?
I would say it would probably be the question that the B group had to ask, which was about the opioids and drug use. I would, Wildwood Crest can only do so much as a small community. This is not just a Wildwood Crest issue, it's a county issue, it's a state issue. So if there is funding and opportunity, perhaps there is, some shared opportunity with the state where an individual or individuals or groups can come and offer assistance, but just not to Wildwood Crest. It's really a county-wide and a state, so it has to be more regional than that. Thank you.
Mr. Groom?
I believe the state needs to revisit its funding for public education. I think our state pays a large amount in our county and our taxpayers for the public education. It's funded different ways in other states. I believe if that was reviewed, I think you would have a tax break for our community. So I think the properly funding public education and bringing in new sources of revenue would reduce the load on the local taxpayer.
Right, Ms.
Thank you.
Devlin?
I also was going to say the drug awareness program. We are to teach this at home, and we can bring it into the school systems that, it's always going to pique kids' curiosities at some point. So it needs to be professionally done. And I believe if we have a program that we can all work together, community to community, state to state, becomes nationwide. This is a worldwide problem. Our children are our future, and there are many ways to help them. We need them here. We need them here. We can't lose them. We have to help them.
Okay. The next question goes to Mr. Bethel.
Wildwood Crest business community includes a lot of motels along with some traditional restaurants and shops. What would you like to see the government do to support the business community going forward or potentially to attract new businesses?
We need a place to get a hot cup of coffee in the Crest, that's for sure. We have to bring some store in, maybe give a tax break till we can keep the stores here. That is probably the biggest thing I'm hearing, is that a lot of store businesses are leaving down on that business district on New Jersey Avenue. Also, I would like to, and I know a lot of people may not like this, but have like a wine bar for restaurants like Little Italy. It's casual dining. They should be able to serve wine from a local distributor if it comes down to it.
Ms. Gould?
We've talked for many years about New Jersey Avenue business revitalization. I don't really know how you get it, to be perfectly honest with you. No one can survive for 12 months in a small business down here. There's just not enough people that do it. When I first moved here, Pacific Avenue was a bustling 4 blocks of businesses. And slowly but surely, they moved out of here into Middle Township, and that's where everything seems to be. You go to Middle to go shopping. I would hope that we could do something. What Mr. Bethel said about the wine is very nice, except we're a dry community, and I think it really wants to stay dry. People feel very safe because they live in a dry community, and the police department loves it because we get all the DWIs coming from North Wildwood and from Lower Township and Wildwood. I don't have the answer. I wish I did, and that really needs a study. More than a beach fee, New Jersey Avenue revitalization of the business district.
Mr. Thompson?
We have the UEZ funds available, and I believe we need to make use of those for the business district. When I had the hardware store on Astor Road, I contacted all the businesses on New Jersey Avenue, Kurtz's down on the lake, and even Dee's Dock down on Rambler Road. We did a joint advertising. At the time, TKR Cable Channel 13 was here. We had commercials running on the TV station. All the people involved, it did a rotating basis. One advantage of that is TKR used to show the Phillies games, and our commercials would run on the Phillies games as well. We bought a big block of advertising because it was cheap as a group, and I think that we need to help them. Darlene and myself has already talked about a couple issues with the business district, one being to sit them down and try to get them again to do a joint advertising. I feel we need to use the UEZ money to help them with the advertising as well as fixing up their buildings, the facade, whether it be paint or renovations. The option is there, but we have to reach out to them before we lose more business. I do agree with Bob about the wine. I don't have a problem with wine in a restaurant or the large hotels having a little lounge. We're not going to have a bar in this town. The days of bars, drunken teenagers, kids, drinking age at 18, that's gone. And I feel that it wouldn't hurt to have a wine with the local wineries being served at our lounges in the larger motels or restaurants.
Okay, the next question goes to Ms. Devlin.
Are any ideas from neighboring communities, any ideas that you would like to be incorporated into Wildwood Crest?
Yes, this is one thing that Dave and I have been working on for quite some time. They have a food truck festival, which works very well for them. And we thought in the after season, maybe after the Seafarers weekend, since we lost the Oktoberfest, maybe we could do a food truck day and have some entertainment, kind of like a mini Seafarers, but with just the food trucks. We could utilize Sunset Lake, have some water sport activities, some trick skiers, jetpackers, all that kind of, just to bring people down there. The trunk or treat, it'll be a little bit of a different twist on what we do now. Maybe we could move it to that New Jersey area, that business district that is so not alive anymore. Block off Sweetbriar to Astor and have it in there. And so it's bigger and better for the children. Again, do it around Christmas, early Christmas, have Santa Claus come on a fire truck. We can do that. We don't need a parade because we don't have enough space for that. But I think starting with a food truck festival, a little entertainment, a little bit of music, we can build and build slowly and be comfortable in 5 or 10 years bringing in some entertainment for the town.
Mr. Cabrera?
First of all, I think Wildwood Crest does a very good job in leading the way for new ideas and programs and initiatives. A couple things come to mind, one of which was on the previous question, which was on the business district. You know, you go to Cape May, you go to Stone Harbor and Avalon, you see a reduced business district. And when you look at Wildwood Crest Business District, say from New Jersey down to Rosemary, it's really too large. It needs to be smaller. needs to be deregulated. You know, God forbid if somebody put an A-frame sign out on the sidewalk, you got somebody walking around and saying you got to move the sign off the curb. Cafe seating, restaurants. So that's probably number one. Number two, I mentioned previously was the idea of a dog park. You know, I spend a lot of time looking at trends in vacation communities, and you know, I think that, you know, Cape May, if you ever drive by, you see a lot of people in their dog park, and when I ride around town or run, I see people walking their dogs all the time. Unfortunately, we can't find the right location, so that kind of goes into the idea of a shared service with Lower Township. And the other thing is more events. You know, we don't have a lot of events in Wildwood Crest. So hopefully, if all goes as planned in 2018, Steve Del Monte, who runs Delmo Sports, we're going to bring in the Crest Best 10-miler, 5-miler, and 5K. So I would say more events in Wildwood Crest. Thank you.
Mr. Gruen?
I agree with a lot Don has just said. The Recreation Department does a really good job of bringing events in. They bring them in, they're family, and I think we need to further expand the number of events that we have. I'd like to go back to the business district as becoming a future hub. I think it needs to be revitalized. I think it needs to be a little bit smaller, as Don has indicated. But a revitalization of that, and I believe that maybe we have an opportunity to make it a small restaurant district with outside seating if we manage the parking correctly. So I think there's an opportunity to do that, and I think that would provide a nice base for the future. Thank you.
All right, the next question will go to Mr. Thompson.
When making decisions and listening to concerns, Wildwood Crest has to balance being a tourist town with second homeowners and year-round population. Sometimes a decision that's good for one might not be good for the other, vice versa. How would you try to balance and play a role in your decision-making?
I believe being a commissioner really is all about having common sense and being able to make good decisions. I don't really know of too many situations where one would really hurt the other. I believe that we really need to start doing more for the year-round residents. We've mentioned as we were walking around talking to the residents some ideas for the year-round residents. One being the library for a senior social center. We talked about having a coffee day, come Tuesday, Thursday mornings, coffee, donuts, newspapers, watch TV with your neighbors, just to get them out of the house, give them something to do. We've got a lot of ideas actually for the library there as a social center. I don't know that it's really going to be an issue, one hurting the other, but it's all about making a sound decision when that comes up. And I believe we need common sense back in government to really avoid that situation.
All right, Mr. Bethel?
I agree with Dave did say. I think one thing, I did talk to one resident who wants to go green. He would like to see a farmer's market here, more festivals. Also, at that plot by the Public Works Garage, he would like to see gardens being rented, and you have the residents come in and have their own little garden, a little plot. I think that's a couple of things that we can do. But we got to work with the residents, and that's got to listen to them, and that's one thing we really have to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gould?
Last night, Mr. Gruen and I stopped at a woman's house, and her biggest problem was transportation. She has a car. She doesn't drive to Philadelphia. She would like to be able to get to Philadelphia at least one day a week, possibly on a Wednesday, so she could see a matinee, visit a museum. But there's no way for her from here to get there. There's no direct express bus. So a bus ride from Wildwood to Philadelphia can be 3.5 hours because they stop everywhere. So that was one of her problems. The other was Comcast. She said, I only want 3, 6, and 10. I don't want the rest of them, and I'm stuck with them. And I have triple play. And I understand what she's saying. She said, my bill is $170 a month. She said, it's ridiculous because I only watched these 3 channels. FiOS, which is Verizon, came as far as Courthouse. Now, if they came that far, and we are supposedly a totally fiber optic state, they should be able to come the rest of the way, and we should be able to have competition, and we should be able to have a war between Verizon and Comcast.
All right. Yay, because I live on an island too, and they don't come there either. Okay, these will be the last 2 questions. So we'll start with Mr. Gruen.
What makes you most proud to be a Wildwood Crest resident?
The people. Every time there's an issue in our community, everyone responds. When there's a fire, the volunteers are there. It's just a great feeling. When someone has a family member that needs help, the room was full. The support, people giving money, time, effort. It's easily the people of this community. It's nice. It's a great community, and it feels good to live here. And thank you.
Ms. Devlin?
I have to agree with Carl. I believe the people in this community make the community. We've seen just recently, this past summer, a very tragic fire. Thank God nobody was hurt. But this community came together for that family, and it wasn't just the police and fire and ambulance. It was you guys out there. Whether you knew them or not, we all come together. Not everybody gets along all the time, but when somebody needs something, we're there. We're there for each other. We've got beautiful homes. We've got lovely people in this town. Dave and I have met hundreds walking door to door. We can't get any better than this. And I'm proud to say that I know quite a few of you, and I met, along the way, I met a lot more, and I hope to see all of you more often.
Mr. Cabrera?
So there's really two sides to this. So there's the year-round side for all of us locals, and it has, is exactly that. It's the people make up the community, and it's tight-knit, no matter what the issue may be or whatever the event or the fundraiser that's going on. I think that, we all, we own here and live here because we have the best beaches in New Jersey, if not the East Coast. We have the best recreational parks, the preservation of open space with beautiful playgrounds and basketball courts, and the trust that you have in us to continue to, invest money into them and preventative maintenance plans to keep them looking nice. And I know from an elected official standpoint, there's a lot of money going out the door to take care of it, but, very rarely do you hear anyone complaining about, you shouldn't have did this street, or you shouldn't have fixed this, or you shouldn't have did that to those areas. So it's the people, it's the amenities, it's the lifestyle. I'd like to know that 8 months you can get from one end to the island in 5 minutes, and then in the summertime it takes you an hour. So there's so many different components to that question, but from a year-round perspective, it's the people, but also all of the amenities we have to offer. And raise my family here, and I'm here forever. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gould?
What is a topic not addressed tonight that you believe is important to bring up for discussion?
The topic not addressed for tonight. Interesting. Let me take a look. Well, I guess the best thing is some of our accomplishments, which I gave out a sheet. There was a sheet in the front, if you saw this, of the things I've done. And there's a sheet that Mr. Gruen put out. But there are things that you don't know that Mr. Gruen has done. First of all, he's made more office spaces in our borough building, which was very important. We have a separate mail and copy room. We have an attic that we never had before with an elevator. But everybody has to take their cell phone with them because sometimes the elevator gets stuck, so we have to know where everybody is at all times. And he has also redone the complete employee procedures and policies manual for the borough. So these are things we haven't talked about, the things that go on in City Hall every day. We are a family. No one is a boss. We are all individuals, we all have a first name, and we all are doing our best to make the best things for all of you, because you're what's important. You are not a block and lot number. You are a human being, and you should be treated as one. And we hope that when you come into City Hall, that we do treat you as one.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson?
One of the ideas we have is making better use of our website year-round. We have plans for putting stuff on the website all winter so that people can see what goes on in Wildwood Crest while you're not here. The other thing is not such a good subject. The other thing that was not brought up tonight is we have 2 lawsuits against this town. They're going to cost us millions of dollars. I feel a better oversight. They shouldn't have been happened at all. But the fact remains, we have already spent a lot of money fighting these lawsuits. There's been numerous court dates with police officers going, all on time, overtime, getting paid. It's going to cost a lot of money to this community. If you're not aware of it, you need to find out what's going on. But it is going to be in the millions of dollars to settle.
Mr. Bethel?
I think mine is the volunteer firefighters. We're getting old, and I'm the youngest at 43 years old in the fire service here. We need to try to bring in the younger crowd and continue the volunteer service that this borough has. You do not want to go paid. We need to do something. So that's going to be one issue I would like to really see that wasn't brought up tonight, is to bring something with the volunteer fire service, bring the younger guys in. Another thing is the morale of the employees. We need to bring the morale back up to where it should be. The employees should be happy working here in this borough. The morale is very low in Public Works where I work. It's not good, and we need to bring that back up. Thank you.
All right, we're going to start with the closing statements now. I'm going to start with Group B first, and we're going to go in reverse order as the opening statements. So, Mr. Thompson, you're first. And this is 60 seconds.
I would start out by like to say thank you for coming. I mean, we have a great community here. It's nice to see the room full. I don't know if your choice got easier tonight or tougher. I think the board did very well in answering the questions. So you're going to have a tough time figuring out who's your best choice. So again, I just want to thank you for coming here, and have a good night.
Mr. Bethel?
Once again, thank you for coming. There's one thing you will get with me. I care. I'm the one who's risking a lot by leaving Public Works to go into a commissioner spot. I care about this community. I care about the people. I care about my fellow workers I work with, whether it's the police, Public Works, Recreation, Borough Hall. Like I said earlier, the morale has to go up. I want to be the one to be able to do that. Thank you.
Ms. Gould?
You talked about the things that Carl and I saw the most of when we were going door to door. We saw more dogs than you could possibly imagine. You have no idea how big some of these animals are that rushed to the door. And Carl looks at me and said, okay, we're going to pass. We're going to leave this. This is my 7th rodeo, as they say. It is the 7th time I am running for office. I have been in office for 24 years. I have enjoyed it 90% of the time, and there's always going to be a percentage when it's not so good, and that does happen. We'll argue, we'll have arguments about things, but we will work it out because we are grown-ups, we are adults, we are mature. I have enjoyed my time in Wildwood Crest, and I hope I have the opportunity to have another term. Thank you.
Mr. Cabrera?
As you narrow down your decision on which candidates to vote, please consider who represents the best interests of Wildwood Crest, your property value, your quality of life now and in the future. General MacArthur once said, a true leader has the confidence to stand alone, the courage to make tough decisions, and the compassion to listen to the needs of others. I have been blessed to be in a position to lead our community using these same principles. A vote for me stands for continued stable taxes, phased plans for flood-prone areas and street reconstruction, preservation of CREST historical artifacts, preventative maintenance programs, beautification, new recreational programs and events, beach improvements for access and grading, pedestrian and bike rating upgrades, planning initiatives to enhance architectural design, the business district, and single-family home construction. And most of all, open and transparent government. I have the experience, leadership, and vision you need for the next 4 years. I thank you for your support once again.
Ms. Devlin?
Dave and I have worked very hard as a team for the past 8 to 9 months, and we appreciate your support and inviting us into your homes to share your thoughts and your ideas with us. When elected, we will ensure that our doors will be open for each idea and, yes, each complaint. The voters are in a very unique position to be able to vote for a candidate who worked in the finance department longer than anyone and who will continue this dedication for the foreseeable future. My work ethic, experience, education, dedication to my work, and my 27-year impeccable record proves that I can work with Dave and another commissioner honestly and respectfully. Thank you all again. Thank you to the Coast, the League, and to my family for your love and support, and also to Dave's family for letting him spend a lot of time with me. Thank you.
Mr. Gruen?
Again, I'd like to thank all attending and those listening at home. First and foremost, I will remain committed to maintaining a sound financial environment. Our debt is being reduced, and we're well positioned to invest in our future. Second, I believe in a planned approach to upgrading infrastructure. To be effective, our plan will have a strong financial component to minimize tax increases. Third, I understand the importance of tourism, and I will continue my commitment by supporting a safe community by continued investment into our parks and recreation and our events. Fourth, I believe we should review our facilities, including our old library, so we may enhance our programs for all, especially our seniors. I believe I have the leadership and the experience to manage the issues of the borough on a daily basis, and I will continue to represent the borough with commitment and integrity. Again, I'd like to thank all who participated tonight and all who came out to listen to us, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for your attendance tonight, and I hope that the audience can now make an informed decision about who they want for their commissioner. And for an advertisement for the league, tomorrow night we are holding the debate for the sheriff and the freeholders in the old courthouse building. The debate will start at 7 o'clock. Thank you.